Hi everyone, my name's Dan Crossland and I work currently as a lead character artist in the video game and film industry. I'm currently doing a few different anatomical projects, working more recently with Mold 3D, producing an anatomy course for artists. This is a little sample of some of the processes that I use throughout the course, my general approach when starting any new work, especially when studying anatomy. Found a few things really helpful. We're going to just go over the muscle groups on this image. It's always a good exercise to use visual recognition as what you're seeing, and also just mark down what the names of the muscles are. So as I draw over, I'm just going to tell you what each muscle is and a little bit about the volume of the muscle, which is quite important when it comes to the sculpting phase when we move forward to that. So I'm going to give you a little demo on the surface topology, and how we use that will come later on, but it's good to get it in your mind early on. So we're just going to be concentrating on the superficial muscles that we can actually see that's given us form. Now there is a few muscles that are also given us form, but you can't see the separation, if you like, so we're going to mark those in, especially when we come to the forearm. Straight off with that deltoid, which most people will know the name of. You can just see the intersection, which is going into Pectoralis major, which is this muscle, this big chest cavity muscle. Just see a light bit of striation there. It's good to get images where somebody's quite vascular, such as this one, because that really helps in understanding form when plotting it in this way. So going into tricep here. This is the lateral head of the tricep. Most people will be familiar with the biceps brachii, which is the front one. Just plotting in the tendon there. So on the dorsal side, which is the back side of the tricep, this is tendon. You get the lateral head here. On the other side, there's the medial head. And there's this tendon that runs up the tricep to the long head, which you can't see on this image. This tendon attaches to the Olecranon, which is here. And we run down into the forearm. Now, when I'm mentioning volume, I'm looking at this shadow, and this can give us a few indications when it comes to sculpt itself. So I'm looking at how rounded that surface is, and that's going to give us a lot of information. And that's why shadows are important to artists. Photographers try to diminish them, and artists try to accentuate them because they give form. All shadows playing a role in informing us about the depth, the volume of the surface. Same here, you get a little kick on that lateral head there. It's quite rounded, because look at the shadow line. It's giving us a good indication. And this helps with sculpting. This is quite flat here. And we can understand, or begin to understand, by using the light, it will give us an idea on that muscle. Now we're moving down to the Brachioradialis, which is a separator muscle, what I call the border muscle. Now that border muscle really helps and makes sense of this area. So working his way down, you've got the Brachioradialis, and then the Extensor, Carpi, Radialis, Longus. These two muscles are very closely connected. And then you're going into Extensor, Carpi, Radialis, Brevis, which is that little kick there. It's sort of tucks in. Now we have a little thing here, little cut, and then this big muscle, what you can see wrapping round, coming down here, is that's the extensor digitorum, which blends into the hand and forms the tendons of the hand, the fingers, and we can see the roundness, and it's wrapping round. Digitorum, extensor digitorum, and the muscle I didn't mention, which is right at the bottom here, which wraps from right under there, right under that extensor digitorum, is the Abductor pollicis longus, connects to the radius, or the radial bone. And you can see this other bone here, which is the ulna. And the way I always remember that is the ulna is on the outside here, that's the ulna, and this is the radius. If you follow that muscle, which is the Brachioradialis, it's easy to remember because it starts at the brachialis, so that's why you get brachio, and it runs radially down to the radius, the inside, so it's brachii radialis. And then we're moving on to these muscles. So I'm looking at the kicks again, the little marks which make up the borders. You can see a slight border here. You see this very shallow line here, and this muscle, some of you may know this, is the Latissimus dorsi, which tucks right up into the armpit there. Then you get another beautiful angle here. You can see a bit of definition there. Now this is making up the abdominal wall here. So this is the abdominal wall, and it's called the Rectus abdominis, which is where the abs are located. Now, you see these marks here, you can really see all this form nicely. And this muscle here is the Obliquus Externus. So it's the external oblique, it goes all the way up to where the Pectoralis is. And then another muscle just in between is the serratus anterior. You'll recognise the shapes that it makes. And the reason it's called serratus is because it creates a sort of serrated formation on the muscle. So those are the main muscle groups on this image, on this particular image. You can do these on any image. It's a good exercise to do while following the anatomy rules and the anatomy books. It's a good learning exercise, but this is the start. This is where we begin. Also learning the bony landmarks is very important before we move into the sculpting phase. But I hope to see you on the course. I hope this has been useful, and I shall see you soon. Thanks, bye for now.